Hey, what's going on, YouTube? What's going on? Welcome to the channel of the big, hairy, ugly dude. Looking a little bit hairy, looking extremely ugly. Nothing new. Hey, welcome to Massive Iron Live. I'll be on for about an hour. Going to wait for YouTube to wake itself up. For you guys tuning in late, I want you to remember that I do this nearly every Saturday, 99% of the time, 95% of the time, every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Couldn't last week because I was coaching Special Olympics powerlifting, coaching at a Special Olympics powerlifting meet. I'll be on for about an hour. Post up all your questions. Please post them up. I enjoy answering your questions. Training, diet, nutrition, supplements, off topic, anything, favorite movies of all time. I don't really care what kind of underwear I wear. Doesn't really matter. Post up your questions. Give me a shout out. Let me know where you guys are from. I'd love to hear you. Before I get into the questions, just a reminder, if I miss your question during this video, YouTube sometimes is difficult. You can go over to my Instagram at Ben the Barman and slide into my DM with your question. What's going on, North Carolina? If you are interested in coaching, first month is free. Go over to my Instagram, ask me about that, and check out my books and my courses, bench press, muscle building, massive iron, over at superlivingtoday.com. All right, let's see what we got going on. We have Adolfo Martinez. Thoughts on cluster sets? Good question, Adolfo, and I'm a big fan of cluster sets. In fact, if you look in the Wayback Machine to the days of my website, Muscle and Brawn, you will find some work called bulldozer training. You Google it, you'll probably still find it. And that's basically cluster sets, a form of cluster sets. It's a form of rest pause work. I'm a big fan of it for the early intermediate to intermediate lifter. I believe rest pause work is great for conditioning. It's great for muscle building, and it can help you get a lot of work in a limited amount of time. So a great approach for muscle building. Just keep your eye on progressive overload. What's going on? Dustin from North Carolina. Sebastian, favorite coffee? That's a good question. I will tell you this. I'm a black coffee guy. But what I like to do is order a lot of different types of grounds and types of coffees just to try them out because I'm kind of a coffee nut. So, Alan Greenson, Shoenet, Massachusetts. Have an awesome weekend. You too. I'm going to be doing some rock climbing after this, if you can believe that. I'm going to hit 30 kilometers running this week. Headed for a trail marathon in West Virginia. I actually got two 50K runs this year, a 30K, a 20-miler, and next year the goal is 100 kilometers, if you can believe that. But you have a good weekend as well. Phil Kirk, hey, dude. Milton Keynes in the UK. What's going on, UK? I'll be in Scotland hopefully next January, just a heads up. So any of you guys around. Adolfo is from Monterrey, Mexico. What's going on, Adolfo? Thanks for tuning in. Joachim Christensen, Norway here. Working out while listening to you. Have a great workout. Smash some PRs for me. Let's see. Abraham, wearing a Correr. Not sure what that means. Shane, what's going on? Shane Larson. And Kia said, why did you skip my question? Did not skip your question. You know what? It's funny, though. I get that every single week. Somebody said, why did you skip my question? YouTube is kind of funny. So if you actually do post something and I don't see it, it's not me. Trust me. It's YouTube being wacky YouTube. So just keep that in mind. Post up. Thoughts on Dana Lynn Rabdo? There we go. We got a new fresh question. As far as I can understand, Dana Lynn went and did CrossFit. I don't recall if it's for the first time or for the first time in a long time, and she got rhabdo. You know, I was a little bit confused by it because as far as I can tell, Dana looks like she's in great shape. Not just lifting, but she looks like she takes care of herself from a conditioning standpoint. I believe she is a hiker like myself. I don't watch her account, too intensely. but I believe they do post a lot of outdoor stuff. So I was kind of surprised. I was really kind of surprised. And I've seen a lot of athletes do a lot of crazy things in my day. So I don't really understand rhabdo. We have a good article over on it on Tiger Fitness, and I've read up about it, and I understand what it is. But sometimes I don't really understand when it hits, who it hits, why it hits, etc. So that was interesting. I know we could be quick to jump in and bash on CrossFit and label it as some evil thing because of this, but I really think it was just a fluke thing. So that's just my opinion. You can tell me yours. What's going on? Perseverance from London. Greetings, big, hairy, ugly dude. Well, how's it going today? JD Perimal from South Africa. Gatang. Did I pronounce that correctly? Gauteng. Let's see. Hyper Alarm 4. Would you say overhead press with barbell or dumbbells? Which is better? I will tell you my honest opinion. Do both in a week. I do not believe when it comes to pressing movements, I like to do both during the week. I'm a really big fan. So, gun to head, somebody going to ask me which is better. I'm going to tell them to do both. That's my honest opinion. That goes for a benching variation, and that goes for overhead press variation. Amen. Nib. Thoughts on running upper lower program 3 days a week? Absolutely. This is something that I have a lot of my clients do. I'll have 4 workouts, upper A, upper B, lower B, and then they rotate between those 3 days a week. So absolutely you can do that. You're working each muscle group about 1.5 times per week. It's still a little bit more frequent than a bro split. And you know what? It's a decent way to train. It's a reasonable way to train. So absolutely. Sebastian, how to deal with low appetite. Greetings from Austria. How to deal with a low appetite. Well, I will tell you this, Sebastian. We have to attack our weaknesses with discipline. Whether it's, I don't have the motivation to do cardio or, take care of my health. I don't have the motivation to eat right. I don't have the motivation to go to work. I don't have the motivation to better myself. I don't have the motivation to eat. In any situation in life, it comes down to choice. Sometimes we have to do things that are disciplined and structured that stretch us. So we might not want to eat, but we have to put together a structure where we have to eat. You need a minimum amount of calories and protein each day to reach your goals, whatever that minimum is for your specific goals. And you need to set minimums, and you need to hit those minimums. No excuses. Now, there are things you can do to increase your food intake, such as you can add things on the meals like sour cream. A little bit of sour cream, a little bit of cheese, calorie-dense stuff. You can take a whey shake or even take Proats, for example, oatmeal, protein oatmeal. Add in an ounce of heavy cream. There's some calories. You can add in some fatty calories, avocado, for example, that can bring up your calorie count for the day without really, adding a lot of food volume. So when you are trying to lose weight, you want to add food volume. What's food volume? Well, 3 pounds of broccoli or cauliflower is a lot of food volume for a little amount of calories. When you're trying to gain weight, you want to go to the opposite of food volume. You want to go calorie density and add high-fat foods that don't fill you up, but that contain a lot of calories. All right, hope that helps some. Adolfo, keep up your great work. Reading you since you wrote at Muscle and Strength. Thank you, Adolfo. I appreciate you following me along since then. I have a lot of great articles and workouts over at Muscle and Strength, just like I do at Tiger Fitness. So my name is associated with those, and check those out. Misgendered hermaphrodite. Monster, Rain, or Bang? That's a great question. I got right here Rain, and there's a lot of controversy because Bang is suing Rain because they look similar and they have similar ingredients and they use body fuel. As somebody that's tried Bang, I've tried 4 different flavors of Rain in the last week and a half, and Rain kicks Bang's ass. I'm a big fan of Rain, so much so that I've started drinking it as opposed to my regular red and white monsters. So this is, excuse me, this is Sour Apple. Big fan of Rain, and sorry, Bang, you lose big time. Let's see. Weight up for me. Thoughts on push-pull legs. I've seen great strength gains within the first 2 weeks. Push-pull legs is a good way, a common way to train. One of the main issues I have with push-pull legs is that people try to stick with 3 on, 1 off, or 3 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off. They try to stick to a really rigid schedule, and sometimes they don't listen to your body. I would strongly suggest keeping a fluid schedule with push-pull legs, listening to your body and taking days off when you need to. What do I mean by that? Okay, push-pull legs is basically 3 workouts, and it's common for you to do 3 workouts and then take a day off. I would say squeeze in a day off in that structure whenever you feel like you need a day off. So if you do push and you feel like crap, take a day off, then come back and you do pull and legs. Okay, I feel pretty good. Then take a day off. Keep it fluid. Take days off intuitively. Don't feel forced to stick to 3 on, 1 off or 6 on, 1 off, because that's pretty intense. Allow yourself the freedom to take days off when you need to. That's my best advice with push-pull legs. Chris, how do you feel about behind-the-head shoulder presses? All right, these are BTN presses. I did those for a long time. BTN presses can be bad for your shoulders if you do them incorrectly. First off, I never had an issue with them, but when you do them, you want to make sure your wrists are over your elbows, okay? You don't want to be like this or like this, because you're going to have some funky shoulder rotation that'll put extra strain on your shoulders. So try to keep wrists over elbows. I try to not lower the bar below the bottom of the ear. You can see I'm well below parallel. This is parallel right here to the ground. Right there, about the bottom of the ear, is well below parallel. You're engaging the shoulders plenty. I got up to about 315 BTN press. There are some folks that'll bring it down to the shoulders. I do not recommend that in the long run. That's just my opinion. I think they can be fine. You just have to do them correctly and do them wisely. And I would rather see you do them for volume than to do them really, really heavy, meaning under low rep sets. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made on them over the years was doing them for very low rep sets. So I hope that helps some. Lester, after 20 years of lifting, having constant issues with my brachialis under biceps under one arm, thought. I'm not sure if you mean your brachialis, the outside here, or if you're having issues with tendonitis. If it's a brachialis issue, I don't really know what the cause is. I can tell you that when I was benching heavy a lot and not doing direct arm work, I picked up brachialis strains nearly every single time, every single week, every single bench session. So I would, if you're not doing direct arm work, I would add direct arm work. If you are doing direct arm work and you have brachialis strains, it could be a case if you're doing too much arm work. I do not know, but if it is a persistent issue, I would definitely see a doctor. That's all I can really tell you. And you also have to make sure you're not just simply talking about tendonitis, which I do not know. Ricky Salgado, is there a downside to microloading sub 5 pounds from the start? Sorry, YouTube just crapped out, which is typical with YouTube. Let me go back, and I apologize for that. YouTube can be a real piece of crap with live videos. Let's see, my clients are blowing up my phone. They don't know what 10 o'clock is. All right, let me move this stupid app out of here. All right, is there a downside to microloading from the start of your training block to try to stretch out training block as long as possible? Well, there can be some downside. I mean, it's a very difficult question to ask, but if you are more of an intermediate lifter, microloading is fine. If you're a beginning lifter and you're starting, let's say, with 95-pound squats or 135-pound squats, and you microload, you could actually slow your progress. I mean, if you're microloading 1 to 2 pounds a week, over the course of a year, that's 50 to 100 pounds on your squat or deadlift. The big lifts I'm more concerned about, because you could potentially go up to 315, your first year in squatting. You could potentially add a couple hundred pounds your first year in deadlifting. So for a beginner, microloading does not make sense on the big lifts. On other lifts that are not the big lifts, absolutely. My only concern with microloading is a beginner, they should not do it because they have the potential to add a lot more strength. Intermediate, absolutely fine. So I hope that answered your question a bit. All right, guys, post up your questions. I'll be on for about another 45 minutes. No questions are off topic or out of bounds. Post them up. I would love to help. If I miss your question or don't see your question, head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. Slide into my DM. Slide into the DM. No dick pics. And I'd be happy to answer your question. That was just humor. Don't be alarmed. Sometimes I make a joke. All right, Hyper Alarm 4. Remembered you speaking about an app you're planning. You have a release date. I got the app done. The app is completed. And what I'm going to be doing is the app has the ability to track your workouts, track your food choices, do your progress picks. It's a very comprehensive app. I'm going to open it up to anybody that is anybody that's interested. And it's going to be like a minimal monthly fee. But you're going to get access to all my programs in the app, and I'm working on putting them in the app. So anybody that's previously bought my programs is basically going to get the app for free. Anybody that wants the app, they get the app. They get the ability to track all their crap. They can ask me questions straight through the app. As a client of mine, even though they're not a client, they can ask me questions directly through the app, and they will have access to all my plans. And if you're tracking your workouts in my app or tracking your food in my app and you have a specific question, you can say, hey, I'm in your app. This is my name in your app. I can go in and check and look at your food, look at your workouts, so on and so forth. So that's coming. That's pretty exciting stuff. So watch for that probably within the next month. Can I gain TT? Can I gain muscle following a program heavily focused on volume and conditioning, but not really heavy, like around 80% or so? 80% of your 1 rep max is really heavy, so I'm not sure if we're speaking the same language here. Can I gain muscle following a program heavily focused on volume and not really heavy? You can build muscle on anything as long as you're using progressive overload. Volume, if you're using volume, you're going to be focused on progressive overload. If you move to a heavier program and less volume, it's probably going to be less intense and will probably encourage hypertrophy or the muscle building process to a more minimal degree or a lesser degree because you're not doing as much volume. What I would recommend is if you're in a program with a lot of volume, go into the workouts like I used to do and go hit your heavier sets first on bench, squats, and deads, and then back off and do a little bit more volume, and then go do volume with your assistance work. So, perseverance. Is there a way to incorporate German volume training for chest when you're training it 3 times a week? No, don't do that. Do not do that. I mean, well, let me backtrack a little bit. A 10 by 10 on German volume training on bench, number one, you're just ramming that movement pattern with 100 reps. So you need some recovery time for that movement pattern. So that it's probably best not to train chest 3 times a week or train a body part 3 times a week in that arena. You could probably do something like a 6 by 10 and then come back 4 or 5 days later. 6 by 10, maybe an assistance exercise, and come back 4 to 5 days later and do it again. But we always have to balance volume, intensity, and frequency. Volume is the amount of reps, basically. Intensity is the weight relative to your 1 rep max, and frequency. We have to balance those. Don't try to put all the bells and whistles into one program. I would not do German volume training with frequency. At best, I would maybe come back 5 or 6 days later and hit a lighter workout, but then you're going to have to build in some rest time before you get back to your German volume training. I'm not sure if that helped at all. Lordak 3. I get pain around traps from overhead press. Can bench press though? Should I keep just benching and stop overhead pressing for now? Pain in your traps from an overhead press is not a normal thing. I'm not a doctor. I can't speculate what is causing that, but I can absolutely tell you that's the first time I've heard of anybody getting traps pain from overhead pressing. If you're talking about soreness, that's okay, because you're going to get soreness in your traps from overhead pressing, especially if you haven't done it in a while. But pain, that's not normal. When a movement is causing you sharp pain, you need to see a doctor about that, especially if it's occurring over and over again. It's not a one-time thing. Sometimes we have a one-time injury where you go in and you tweak something and it's just a fluke and you get back into the gym next time and you're fine. But if you have a recurring sharp pain like that, you need to go see a doctor. You need to stop doing that exercise. That's my best advice, so I hope that helped. Ben on Adventures is in the house. All right, Ben. Messed up my diet last week. Ben, you fatty, messing up your diet. First time in a few weeks, I ate 3,400 instead of 2,000 per day. I know it's not much, but it's a mental thing. You know what? It happens, and get over it. It's life. Everybody does it. And it's just part of the process. We're not perfect. You're not cutting for a bodybuilding show. It's going to happen. Just try to be as consistent as long as you can, and don't sweat the little days like that. It just happens in life. Don't beat yourself up. You're not evil. Just get back on the bike and keep going. What's going on, Matt? Oh, Karen says a great program. Thaddeus Fields, Dr. Thaddeus Fields from the new TV show Dr. Thaddeus Fields is in the house. Thaddeus is actually one of my clients. Just a reminder, guys, I am on every Saturday at 10 Eastern. Please tune in. Set your watches. Set your timers. Please subscribe to the channel. If I miss your question or don't see your question, please slide into my DM on Instagram at Ben the Barman. Ask your question. I try to answer every question that comes my way. If you need coaching, first month is free. Hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman for more information. And if you need any programs or form assessments or anything like that, you can go over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. One more thing, pay attention to this. I am having a retreat in Ohio in October. It is 3 days. You pay $150 per person. All the food is inclusive. I'm going to take you on a tour of 4 amazing hikes. In 3 days, we get to hang around the fire, drink some beers, go on hikes, eat some meat. It's a great time, but I only have room for 3 people left. All right? It's booking quick. We have a whole lodge, So if you're interested, you can ask me via DM on Instagram or head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com, and look at packages. Get on that. I want to fill that up. We got only 3 slots left. Let's see. The Omega says, you look sick, old man. Thank you. No one likes yo website. Thank you. Want to get beat? Sure. So, guys, yeah, I'll be on for about another half an hour. And just if I miss your question, please. I'm going to move in here for just a minute. Let me get my camera settled. There we go. Let me try to get that off. All right. Let's see. Get Up and Move says, can't wait for the retreat. Sorry, I'm going to get on here and block the troll. Keep your questions coming, and I will try to get the troll off here. Oh, Karen, please stop writing, bro. Get a life. Yeah, it happens. You can't really help when you get like a little teenager that's taking a break in between masturbation. So the retreat, again, will be at Hocking Hills in Ohio. If you guys want some, just a nice escape, and you're not really into hiking, or you just want to come to Ohio, make a little drive and see the best that Ohio has to offer, this retreat is just absolutely amazing. We're going to be going to Cantwell Cliffs, Rock House. We're going to be going to, what else am I missing? Cantwell Cliffs, Rock House, Conkle's Hollow, and of course, Hocking Hills, which is the king in Ohio, Hocking Hills. If you've never been there, you need to come check it out. Okay. All right, guys, post up your questions. Diet, nutrition, training, supplements. Nothing is off limit. Post it up. I'm just getting on my computer right now to block the juvenile. There we go. Got them. And hide user on this channel. All right. All done. All right. Sorry about that. Never fails. I should just do this from my computer so I can block folks. The blocking feature on the phone absolutely stinks. So, again, yeah, the retreat only has 3 left, and three slots left, and we're going to be seeing some amazing things. So, let's see if we can get YouTube to work here. There we go. I think I got everything settled. I'm going to try to get my videos a little bit more structured this week. So if you have any topic ideas, just let me know. I'd love to hear your topic ideas for the week. I want to do some things that I've never covered before, because I've been doing YouTube for about 8 years. So if you have any ideas, just post them up. I'd love to hear them. Tufa, would you load creatine, and can you mix it with coffee? All right, we got 2 good questions. Would you load creatine? I've loaded creatine in the past, and I really don't find a lot of benefit to it. I strongly suggest, when it comes to creatine, that you do about, and some people will disagree with me, but I find that when I take 10 grams a day, 5 grams in the morning, 5 grams before workout or after workout, doesn't really matter. About 10 grams a day with beta-alanine, that I just feel like I get the most out of it. You don't need to load it as long as you do it in the long run. Just continue to do creatine in the long run and give it a chance. I think one of the issues with creatine is that people will take it just in their pre-workouts. And, the pre-workouts are usually underdosed as far as creatine. People will generally, then they'll only take it during their workout days, and they're not getting the full effect. Creatine is something you want to take every single day. And taking it with beta-alanine can be really, it kind of works as an amplifier or a really, really good synergy. You can stack them together, but you got to take them every single day. Beta-alanine is something you want to take 3 to 4 times a day, spaced out rather evenly. That's a really, really good idea. And there's, in the old days, sometimes we would try to front load creatine and take 25 grams right out of the gate. But that's absolutely not necessary at all. Let's see what we got here. YouTube's messing with me. So it keeps showing a down arrow, but I don't have any questions. So if I miss your questions. Can you take creatine with coffee? Yeah, you can really take creatine with anything. We used to think you needed to take it with grape juice and all that kind of good stuff back in the day. You can really take it with anything. I prefer just to put it in a small amount of liquid and just swill it down. I don't want to have, because no matter what you put it in, it's going to generally settle to the bottom. And if you put it in coffee, you're going to get to the end of the coffee anyway, and it's just going to be settled at the bottom. So I'd probably just skip that step and just slam it. Manalist K, do you think that the thick bar presses have any transfer in terms of load to the corresponding normal bar presses? It's a very good question. And sometimes people get caught up in exercise variations to the point where they overly focus on the variation, like a thick bar compared to the normal. A thick bar is definitely more challenging. Will it have a carryover? Yes. Will this carryover be substantial? I will say not substantial. Um, I've been in the gym with some strongmen that are doing thick bar overhead presses. It's a very specific movement, for their sport, and they have to generally they're handling bars that are a little bit thicker at times. Um, but is it going to really increase your straight bar overhead press? Um, I wouldn't say by much, hardly at all. I would say it's going to help. It's just a different exercise. It's going to feel different, and it'll help you get better at thick bar presses, if that makes sense. I mean, it's a whole different game. The body is very specific, in how it responds to things, and um, you know, maybe you can get a 5% boost out of your overhead press. I don't know. I don't know that it's ever been studied, and I'm no expert at that, but I would say, if you're going to do overhead thicker bar presses, get your meat and potatoes in first, and then use it as a tool. You could do regular bar presses one day, and then alternate week in and week out between regular bar presses and thick bar presses. It certainly wouldn't hurt to do both at the same time. And that's probably my recommendation for the best way to handle it. Uh, Take a shower stinky. Will I look like Zach Hampel after working out? Yes, whoever Zach Hampel is, you can look like him. Just try hard enough. The experiment: best bench press special exercise for raw powerlifter. Uh, to build up your bench press, I think one of the biggest things that people don't do is that they don't get enough volume in. They don't get enough weekly volume in their bench press. They go in and just do low rep sets and then they get out. I like to do a lot of pressing volume, and that includes bench pressing and overhead pressing. So I would use that as a staple. Um, I would go and do my heavy work, and then I drop down and do some volume work. So when I was doing my max rep set, it could be for a single or a triple or whatever I felt like that day, from anywhere from 365 to upwards of 435. And then I would drop down to 315, do max reps, drop down to 275, do max reps, drop down to 225, do max reps. I get some volume in, then I do dumbbell press volume, 3 to 5 sets of 10 to 15. Then I would do some lighter stuff for the chest. Make sure you get some chest work in, machine chest press or something that's chest specific. I would also really hammer the triceps. People tend to do wimpy tricep exercises after a really intense bench press session. After my bench press session, I would be doing push-ups. I'd be doing really heavy cable tricep extensions. And when I say heavy, it still would be 10 rep sets, but it'd be 3 to 5 sets of cable tricep extensions. Close grip bench presses, do those for 8 to 10 reps. And even skull crushers for 10 to 12 reps. I don't like them really heavy, but get your pressing volume in. Get your pressing volume in and get your overhead pressing volume in. Do a dumbbell and a barbell variation every single week and get some volume in on those. That should be your foundation. Don't just go low volume, heavy as a raw lifter. Get some volume in and listen to your body. I hope that helps some. Let's see. Jeffrey, have you ever trained someone with MS? Have you ever tried to offer some advice to a friend? I trained with the first natural pro bodybuilder, Rich Knapp, the first wheelchair pro, Rich Knapp. Look him up. He had MS. Couldn't walk. So he was a training partner of mine. He is still a good friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I trained with him, and I know his limitations, and I know how he trained. And he could kill it in the gym. So I've never trained. I didn't train him, but I trained with him. In Special Olympics, I train guys with all kinds of unique circumstances. Guys that have had hip replacements, guys that have a very low level of mental functioning. And I'm teaching them how to, perform the lifts in a way they will understand. So I've trained a lot of different folks at a lot of different levels, teens, etc. But have I ever tried to offer advice to anybody with MS? No, but I've trained, again, the Special Olympics. and I just did a Special Olympics coaching powerlifting meet this weekend. So I'm pretty confident that really when you're training somebody and you kind of know what you're doing, you have to look at what their limitations are and find ways around their limitations to help them achieve their goals. So I'm very confident that if I had to train somebody with MS, I could handle it with a functional degree, so to speak. Master Mino, will small arching during bench press hurt my gains long time? Absolutely not. Here's your head on the bench and here's your feet. You need to have both of those ends planted and pushed together, and that will create a slight arch. Your feet should be pushed down and away from your head to create some leg tightness. And you got your setup on your upper back and your traps, and that's all tight. That degree of tightness will create a small arch. That's not going to decrease any gains. That'll only help you improve your shoulder health and stability over the long run. So absolutely not. Flat bench, arms flared benching is probably the worst thing you can do in the long run. So absolutely a small arch is okay. Matt, advice on serratus anterior work, best exercise. I don't do a lot of stuff for that. Never done a lot of stuff for that. I'm assuming, things, it really depends on your level, your strength level, your conditioning level, your fitness level. I mean, there are certain exercises that you could start with, like wood choppers. We have a cable set up over there on the door, and we do some stuff like this, the wood choppers or whatever the heck you want to call them, variations like that. That's a good start for a reasonable volume, and you can really do that anywhere. You can do that at the gym with a cable setup, or do it at home with a band setup or whatever. But beyond that, not many people are really hardcore serratus trainers. And there's probably a shit ton of good exercises out there on YouTube and on the internet, and a lot of people that are far more educated in training that specific muscle group than I am. It's just not a muscle group that we overly focus on in strength training. We overly focus on in muscle building. So beyond the basic exercises, I don't have a lot to offer as far as advice. Joe Rea, hello, your thoughts on maintaining muscle instead of progressive overload. If you're happy with the amount of muscle mass you have, then don't use progressive overload. That's as simple as that. You have to maintain strength, though, to maintain your muscle mass. My thoughts on maintaining muscle instead of getting stronger, it depends on your goals. Some people only want 5 pounds of muscle. And I know this is a power building channel. It's about getting as big and as strong as possible. But you know what? Everybody has different goals. If you don't want to become a mass monster, and that's, basically impossible naturally anyway. But if you're happy with your amount of muscle you have, then don't use progressive overload. But you still have to maintain with a reasonable amount of volume, or else you're going to get weaker, and ain't nobody got time to be weak. Don't be weak. There's no benefit in life to being weak. No benefit in life to being mentally or physically weak. Do not do it. Ab Reyes, did you lose a lot of strength when you lost your weight? Absolutely. Absolutely. Abso-frickin-lutely. And anybody that comes to me and says, I don't want to lose strength while I'm losing a lot of weight, you're shit out of luck. That's the way it works. Unless you're an absolute beginner, then you have a chance to put on strength while you're losing weight. So, yeah, I lost a lot of strength. My squat, probably 150 pounds, but I got it back over time. I didn't get back my deadlift and my bench after losing 100 pounds. I actually set a new PR on bench. So I got stronger, but it took me 2 years to come back after losing weight to get my bench stronger. My deadlift, I got up to 660, not 666. So not quite there, but I got that up to 660. And I had done 675 on the platform before as a fatty. But squats took a dive. My squats went down by about 40 pounds, even after 2 years of training. I'm not a great squatter, and the weight loss just took its toll on me. And I could not get to 600 at a body weight of 242. I tried, but I just couldn't get there. So, Kevin Cack, about 4 years ago, was about 100 pounds. Bought a book on body weight exercises and got up to 150. Do I still have room to grow? Absolutely, Kevin. The body weight exercises are great for your conditioning and great for a base level of strength, but they did not pack on 50 pounds of muscle. What happened was your body weight was just normalizing, and you either your metabolism slowed or you just went through a growth spurt or whatever. You're at 150 pounds, and I don't know your height, but you probably have room for at least 20 to 25 pounds more of muscle mass. That would put you at 170, 175. I'm assuming you may be 5'6", 5'8". I do not know. Maybe you can post up your height. But yeah, you absolutely have a lot of room to pack on muscle mass. Absolutely. Unless you're 5'2". The experiment. Thank you for fixing my squat and teaching the importance of chest up. You most likely saved me from injury. Thank you, and I'm glad I was able to help in some way. Perseverance. Is it okay if I prefer and find sled leg presses more effective than barbell squats? Is it okay if I prefer? Look, I'm just being honest with you. I prefer sitting on the couch than compared to doing squats. Is that okay? Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm okay with, it's okay to like anything if you're okay with the results you're going to get from it. Okay. I like drinking a lot of beer rather than cutting back on beer and getting in shape for running. Is that okay? It's okay if I can accept the consequences of my decision. Now, I'm not telling you the leg press is a bad exercise, but the point I'm trying to drive home here is your choice. You have to weigh the outcome of that decision. And is it okay? It's okay if you can accept the outcome. The barbell squat is a great exercise. The leg press is a quality secondary exercise. Combined together, a lot of leg press volume and a reasonable squat volume, that is where I'd like everybody to be that wants to power build. If you do not want to do squats, then you need to do a lot of leg press volume and get your legs really strong. So you can certainly build up a lot of leg strength and size with just leg press, but you need to understand that it would be better if you would do them both. So, I don't know your goals. I'm not trying to squat shame you, but I'm just being honest with you. Whenever people ask me, is it okay if I do what I like to do? It's okay if you can accept the consequences and the deficiencies in your decision, and then you have to maybe make up for any deficiencies. Like, I'm only doing leg press. Now, how do I get more out of the leg press? More volume, more strength, more volume, more strength, more frequency, something like that. So hope that helps some. Greg O. With incline presses, the barbell has never felt right on my shoulders. Dumbbell inclines have always felt better. Any thoughts? I never have brought the bar down to my chest on inclines. It just feels like the elbows are too far back and it puts too much pressure on the shoulders. At the end of the day, when we're doing pressing, we can't get hung up on arbitrary things like bringing the bar all the way to our chest on inclines or whatever. It's easier on declines, but we have to consider shoulder health as well. So your question, the barbell has never felt right on my shoulders. And I think maybe you're saying your shoulders don't feel great during incline presses. Can you do dumbbell inclines? Then do dumbbell inclines. Never do an exercise, a pressing exercise that makes your shoulders feel like crap. There are too many pressing exercise variations out there. And if one of them is bothering you, just toss it overboard. Maybe come back to it a year later after you've strengthened some things and see if it feels better. Perseverance. I don't understand the hype with hip thrusts. I find leg press and hip abductions more effective. And you know what, Perseverance, I'm right there with you. I believe as somebody that trains, I believe there's a lot better ways to strengthen your hips. I'm a big fan of Dimmel deadlifts. I'm a big fan of other hip hinge movements. And you know what? I'm just, the time to set up and the energy to set up and the ROI compared to other exercises, I just do not like it. That's just me personally. You can do hip thrusts all you want. I absolutely would never, not exercise I'll ever recommend to anybody. That's just me. Don't hate. I have a right to my opinion. All right. I have a right to be wrong too. So I could be wrong, but I'm going to be wrong about hip thrusts until the day I die. Lou Barbary. Hey, big hairy ugly dude. I'm running a 4-day upper lower split. Okay, great. With 2 main lifts a day. One heavy for 5x3 and then one lighter for 5x5. Does this sound like enough? It sounds like a good plan. One thing I will say though is that if you're running upper lower twice a week, that's a pretty intense, meaning it's pretty heavy relative to your 1 rep max. You might want to do like a 5x3. If you're doing a 5x3 on bench, the next day maybe drop it to a 5x5 or a 5x8. If you're doing a 5x3 on squats, the next day maybe drop it to a 5x8. You might want to have add a little bit more volume in and a little bit lighter intensity on that second day. You might want to rotate even between a 5x3, a 5x5, and maybe a 3, 4, 5x8 or something like that. It's absolutely fine as it stands. Just listen to your body, but also be aware that there are other options. If it starts to take its toll, you might want to get more volume on that second day and do like a 4 or 5x8. So, but it's a good program. Tai T, does intermittent fasting prohibit goals of increasing strength? Not that I've ever noticed. I did straight intermittent fasting for 5 years. And then for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, I started to include protein shakes in the morning. That's not fasting, but that's what I did. It's and on both of them, I gained a lot of strength. The body will typically adapt. Now, there are some of us that do fasting that just feel like crap. Like my wife, for example, when she fasts, she just absolutely hates it and never stops telling me she hates it. I just hate it. I hate it. But no, as long as your calories and protein are in check, you should be fine. But if you do feel weak, then you might want to rethink your attachment to using fasting. Matt says, appreciate it. Glad to help. Let's see. Kashiwa Daisuke. I probably pronounced that incorrectly. Is it feasible to stay at a low body fat percentage year-round while still progressing? That's a very good question. It is feasible. It makes things a little bit more challenging. But look, once you get to kind of a good place in your weight, then progress is going to slow anyway. So really at that point, you want to be around maintenance or slightly above maintenance. You might have periods of time where you gain 3, 4, 5 pounds and then you have to pull back. It's possible. It really depends on the individual. 10% is pretty darn lean, despite what people view, the ridiculous ways people view body fat percentage. I don't know many people that stay in that conditioning level year round. I just don't. It's easier to build up your muscle mass, spend 2-3 years building up muscle mass, staying at a flubbery, 15 to 18%, and then staying lean after that. That's a better way. That's an easier way. I just don't simply know a lot of people that stay super lean year round. And I know a lot of people. So, big man, your talk is appreciated. How to increase my deadlift? I can do 2 sets of 6 reps at 130, but have no energy after that and feel weaker the next week. All right, so there's 2 things going on here. You feel weak after deadlifts. That's normal. And you just have to enter suck it up mode and understand, I just did something hard. I'm going to feel weak, but over time, if I continue to do that hard thing, my conditioning levels and my fitness levels are going to improve. So there's nothing you can do about that. Now, if you're feeling weak the next week, what you probably want to do is rotate deadlift variations. You can do your regular deadlift week 1, and week 2, maybe just pull from 3 to 5 inches off the ground with a little bit more volume, or something like that. Or just maybe do Romanian deadlifts or dumbbell Romanian deadlifts or something like that. I would rotate if that is the case. So I hope that helps some. Tunde, for lighter day and heavy day, do I do the same weight? If you're doing a lighter day and a heavy day, Both of them have to be focused on progressive overload. A heavier day might be a 3x5 or 5x5, heavier relative to your 1 rep max. A lighter day could be maybe like a 4x10 or 5x10. So a lighter day generally has more rep volume, but they might have a pretty equivalent amount of overall weight volume or tonnage. So the question was, do I do the same weight? No, you don't do the same weight. You have to get your volume squared away, and you have to focus on progressive overload. And they're basically two different types of workouts. Gun Nuts 82, big hairy ugly dude. Can I build quads with 2 bad knees? In this life, you can do anything you put your mind to. There's always a way. And you need to get into that always the way mindset. I do not know what your knee issues are, but I know that if I had knee issues, I will find a way to walk through a freaking wall. So yes, you can. You just have to find exercises that work, exercises that allow you to do volume, exercises that allow you to challenge. You might need to get creative and do like supersets or some crazy crap like that, but you can find a way. Let's be real. I feel like I'm in a plateau. How can I break through this? Everybody feels like they're in a plateau. Most people aren't in a plateau. You know what? I'm not being disrespectful, but that's such a vague question. I don't know your weight. I don't know your calorie intake. I don't know your lifts over the past 3 years. What you need to do is start getting scientific. Look at your lifts where they were 3 months ago. Look at where they are now. Start taking measurements with a tape. Tape your arms flexed. Tape your quads flexed. Start every month. And you need to start looking at data rather than how I feel. And if the data is changing, you're not in a plateau. Most times plateau issues are bad expectations. So that's where I would start. Thank you, Sushi Juice, for the $2. I appreciate it. Let's see, the supplement engineer, Robert. How is Rain compared to Bang? I answered this earlier, but Rain kicks Bang's ass in every way. I've had 4 flavors of Rain. Rain is basically the same thing as Bang. Rain has 300 milligrams of caffeine, and it has B vitamins, BCAAs, electrolytes, all that kind of good stuff. It tastes better. Bang is a little bit, little chemically tasting. All the flavors I've had of Rain kick Bang's ass big time. I will never drink another Bang again. In fact, I'm drinking these over my regular Monsters. The flavor isn't at the Monster level, but it's pretty darn close, and it's just good. Been on adventures. In my upper lower, I rotate between 6 to 8 and 12 by 15 on separate days, and that is a really good way to approach it. Absolutely. Perseverance. Can switching over to dumbbell bench press increase your barbell bench press strength? Don't switch. Do both. Don't switch. Do both. People will say, is this better? Is that better? Is this better? Is that better? The answer is almost always do both. You don't have to do them both in the same workout. You could alternate week in and week out. Doing both is almost always better than just doing one, so keep that in mind. Matthew, do calisthenics carry over to strength training? Any way you strengthen your body helps the body get stronger. And I know that sounds like an obvious and silly statement, but anything you do to strengthen the body helps the body get stronger. Now, it's a matter of degrees. When you do a lot of push-ups, is it going to help your bench press? Probably not a lot, but man, if it helps at 1 to 2%, take it. But calisthenics can't hurt. They can help, but calisthenics will generally just help you get better at calisthenics. Not at squats or bench press. You can get to the point where you can do 200 push-ups a day. You still get under that bar, and it's a whole different game. You can get to the point where you can knock out 400 bodyweight squats like it was nothing in an hour, but it's still not going to help you push 225 on your back, so I hope that helps. Thaddeus Fields, your thoughts on yoga as a supplement to strength training and all-around health. Yoga, from all I've seen on yoga, it is an absolutely wonderful way to spend time if you have time. I would rather see people doing yoga. There's so many things we can do, prehab, rehab, foam rolling, all this kind of stuff, if you're going to spend extra time doing something physical, yoga seems like a wonderful way to do that. I myself would love to have time to try yoga. I just simply don't. My days are just bell to bell with lifting, with running, with clients, with helping my wife establish her business. Just don't have time. But if you have the time, I would definitely check it out. And you know what? Every Damn Day Fitness, go over to everydamndayfitness.net, and they have a yoga service. And you know what? If you don't want to leave the house, just work with them. I mean, absolutely work with them. Crystal is a yoga wizard, not yogurt. Adolfo, thank you for always reminding me to stick to the basics. That speaks a lot of your honesty, not BS. Thank you, and I'm glad you're able to see that. I always try to give you guys my best advice, and the best advice is usually just basics and fundamentals. Get good on the basics and fundamentals. And, some of the things I tell people they don't want to hear, but over time, I hope they will appreciate them. See, Robert says, sorry, I'm late to the party. That's okay. You're in a different time zone. Perseverance. How important do you think direct neck, forearm, and calf training are? Very not important at all. Not. I mean, unless you have if you're in a sport where your head's taking a beating or pounding or could potentially do so, like MMA, like football, like wrestling, then you might want to do some neck training. Calf training, if you're in a sport where your calves really need a lot of power, to push off, then there's a lot of benefit of calf training. Forearm training, all the gripping I've done over the years has just built, forearm strength. I've never done direct work. I think you don't really need forearm work unless you're in some kind of sport or endeavor that requires a lot of grip. If you're doing a lot of rock climbing or stuff like that, or obstacle course racing, you might want to do some more grip forearm work. But unless you're in a sport, all that stuff's going to grow naturally, except for calves. Calves just suck for most people. All right, guys, I'm about to jump off. We're about at the hour mark. If you have a question, get it in now. If not, slide into my DM on Instagram at Ben the Barman and send me the question. I'd be glad to help. But this is the last call for questions. Kev Watson, are bro splits the inevitable choice after building some strength? I think so, as those two lifts got to be separated up. Not always the inevitable. I mean, there are programs that do strength-focused programs like Westside that stick to upper-lower. You can certainly continue to run that. You just have to manage your volume and your exercise selection. But over time, for most of us, as we've built up and come close to 90% of our natural limits on muscle and strength, I think probably as we age, a bro split is the best way to go. It allows more recovery. We aren't gaining a lot of muscle and strength. We don't have a room to gain a lot of muscle and strength. And, life is busy. So I think it's just easier. It requires less time in the gym because when you build up a reasonable amount of strength, it takes a lot of time to warm up on the bench, squat, or deadlift. So doing two of those exercises in the same workout day can just be a royal pain in the ass, honestly, for those of us with a busy life. Kashiwa Daisuke, how important are weighted pull-ups and chin-ups? I'm at a point where I can do 12 bodyweight pull-ups and 15 bodyweight chin-ups. Should I invest in a weight belt? I would probably get to the point where you can do 20 or 25 of those with ease for multiple sets. Get your volume up in pull-ups and chin-ups, and at that point, maybe consider a weighting them. I am not a fan of weighting dips or pull-ups or chin-ups when you can't do 20, 25 without. I'm not a fan of doing weighted stuff for low reps and those types of movements. I'd rather see you be able to knock out 15 to 20 pull-ups with 5 pounds on there, or 15 to 20 dips with 5 pounds on there, and progress in that range. If you can get your pull-ups up to like 20 reps, so that's a chin-up, up to 20 reps with 45 to 90 pounds, that's impressive. That's some impressive strength, and that'll probably be a little bit better on the biceps, and for dips, a little bit better on the shoulders as well. That's just my opinion. All right, guys, I'm off. I've hit the hour mark. I appreciate you guys' support. Just a reminder, I'm here every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. A reminder, I do coaching. First month is free. Head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. Hit me up if you want coaching help. Also, I have a retreat in Ohio in October. I'm going to be doing retreats twice a year in different states. Each time it's going to be a different state. I'm going to take you. We're going to get a lodge. We're going to get free food. I'm going to take you on a tour of some of the best hikes in the state. We're going to sit around, drink some beer, eat a lot of meat. So head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. Check out packages. There's only 3 spots left in this retreat. It's almost full. If you need coaching services, it's over there. If you want a Massive Iron t-shirt, it's over there as well. I appreciate your support. Love you guys. Have a great day. And